Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Those that watch my channel know that I enjoy vintage. I enjoy shopping on eBay. If you put the two together, you can find some very good buys. I also am very comfortable restoring most pens, and I know which pens I'm comfortable restoring. So when I'm searching on eBay for different types of pens, some pens attract my attention. This particular pen, and don't let the box fool you, because the box is not the box that this pen came in originally, but similar. A viewer of mine interested in vintage Waterman. So he bought one, didn't seem to be what he liked. Thankfully, he was able to return it. So I mentioned, I went on eBay and looked for vintage Waterman pens that I thought were good buys. This one caught my eye. So I put in a bid, got it for a reasonable price. So let's just take the box open. And right away we'll pretty much know it's not a Parker, but it's not extremely obvious. Interesting celluloid. Interesting design on the cap finial there. Interesting clip. There's an Art Deco theme going on there. The clip design is kind of replicated in the cap band to a certain degree. There's your first giveaway. That's a lever fill, box lever fill, that is known for a particular type of pen, and here we see the pen. Yes, it's a Watermans, apostrophe S. It has, your registered trademark. It's an ideal. And they tell you it's a fountain pen in case you're confused. And made in the United States. But one of the things that Waterman did was they put the identifier on the bottom of the barrel. So this is a 92. So right away, that number tells us two things. The 9 means it's made of celluloid or a plastic. And the 2 is the size of the nib. It's a screw-off cap, and there's a decent amount of threads, not a lot, less than one turn to get it off. And we see a classic Waterman Ideal number 2 nib. It's in good shape. I mean, it's tarnished. Obviously, this will be taken apart and flushed, the classic spoon feed there. And I was very happy to see that it's a fairly soft nib. I wouldn't call it a full flex, or it's not super soft. Wet noodle is a good description of a super soft nib. The other thing you'll notice is the lever has been bent, so somebody has tried to force it up. The sack inside is probably calcified, probably from full of ink, and this was probably put away how many years ago? 30, 40, 50. This pen was made in the 30s. We'll do a quick view of a Waterman catalog that has it in. So I just wanted to give you an as found. I'm obviously going to work on this and restore it and put it in writing order because I'm very eager to see this pen right. So one may ask, how do I decide on buying a vintage pen on eBay? Well, first I do a search. Waterman has their own section in the fountain pens. Then I look at the auction, I look at what the pen is it a pen I'm interested in? I look at the seller's feedback. I also look for a pen that I want to add into my collection, something that's a little bit different. And with Watermans, something that I know is going to be a good writer, at least I feel it's going to be a good writer. It's a lot of gut involved in this. And to me, the price was right. I wouldn't have paid much more than that for the pen, so I snagged it at a good price. I also read the description. I like things that are not been restored. You get a better value, and I don't mind restoring them. A lot of close-up photography is also good. I don't mind some tarnishing. It shows the lever being a little bit bent up, so the seller is very honest. It shows a good imprint on the pen. And when I placed the order, it was a quick delivery. It took 1 week to get here, so that was nice. So as expected, the sack latex sack was completely calcified. That's the word I use, but it was extremely brittle, and that was stopping the lever from moving. So I used my trusty sack remover, pointing on one end. So it really allows you to get in there and chip away at this, because that's basically what you're doing. And also at the end of the section, this was also a calcified sack that adhered to that. The section just pulled right out, so I think that somebody at one time had removed it. I've flushed this. The flow is excellent, as I would expect from any Waterman feed. And this is the nib without any polishing. This is just flushing it, and the colors come back pretty well. So the ink was not very aggressive, but it certainly did the number on the sack, and you can see now that that lever fits flush. That was just an easy adjustment. And I also adjust it so it snaps in place, and then it stays secure. So we're just going to do some more cleanup. There's a little bit of ink in the cap, so next thing you know, we'll be putting a bladder on here and putting nib to paper. The 92's been cleaned up, new sack installed. Quite a bit of long one fits in there. Got my shellac there where the sack meets the section. I think this pen cleaned up extremely well. I'm very happy with this celluloid. You know, with all kind of like vintage Watermans like this, it's gold-filled metal trim, so it doesn't take much to take off any oxidation, put on a nice little coat of wax. Amazing amount of colors in here. Very chaotic mix of colors. You know, there's no discernible pattern. At one time I thought it was a sheet that was wrapped, but then you might see little lines that indicate that, but they don't go anywhere. So big chips were added into the celluloid of some type of material, some of it pearlescent. So yeah, and the little Art Deco thing. So we're going to talc this up, insert it, and see how this nib writes. Here's a page from a 1936 Waterman pen catalog. And I think the pen on the left here is pretty much the pen that we're reviewing today. Not certain what color it is. There's a quartz and green pearl. I'd say probably quartz. But I'm not saying that the pen I have is a 36. It could be 37, 38, maybe 35. In the 33 catalog, it has the other 92 in that has the riveted clip, and we'll see that later on in the video. But Waterman presented this as their economical pen, outstanding value, and the smaller ones have the V on them. One may think that's vest pocket. That's what it was supposedly done, but I thought you just look and enjoy a little view of that catalog that the pen may have been in. You may have said, Chris, didn't I see a 92 video from you a while ago? And I'll say, absolutely. Almost 2 years ago. I got it in the Philly Pen Show of 2017. And I may be going to the Philly Pen Show of 2019. But it's interesting, the different designs of the clips there. Both of them follow the motif of the clip for the cap band. I mean, this red and gold one is certainly a phenomenal phenomenal celluloid. But I find both of these to be attractive. Obviously, if I could only choose one, it would be the red one. But they're identical other than the clip being different, the cap band being different. They're identical in all other aspects. You know, the same box lever, which I think Waterman probably used for 50 plus years. So I thought you'd just enjoy a comparison of these two vintage pens, which I'm extremely happy to own. Now, both of these were bought in unrestored condition. One at a pen show, so I got a chance to play with it and I knew what I was getting. And then one bought on eBay, which I had to basically judge on pictures and description. So the red one cost twice as much as the greenish one, or the other version, which I think is a newer version. So Waterman got rid of the rivets on the clip. This is probably a less expensive clip, less expensive to make and less expensive to put into place. So I'm certain over time, you know, these were late 30s, early 40s. certain over time that they had to do things, the war effort was on to still continue to make writing instruments of Waterman's excellent nibs, but make the pen itself more affordable, but still retaining a lot of those qualities that Waterman is known for, like great acrylics, very functional parts, and wonderful pens to write with. So these both have number 2 nibs in them. The same black sections. I haven't tried whether the caps are the same on both of them, but I'm certain I'd give it a shot. But these are not 2 things I wouldn't franconize because I have the whole complete pens. So it really always attracts me to Waterman are their nibs, and number 2 nibs I would put up against any nibs around. So the 92 is a classic size, very comfortable in the hand. It's the size of the 52. I mean, Parker's been pretty consistent with the size of the standard number 2 pens that they used. It's light. It's just comfortable. These are the types of pens that I can write pages and pages and pages. The section is a little on the small side, but it's comfortable. There's a lot of a good curvature to it, and you can pretty much hold it anywhere. Those threads don't interfere with you in case you want to hold it away from the nib. So this is really an extra fine nib when you're not flexing it. And the thing that always been amazed me about these vintage nibs is you can put no pressure on it and it'll just put down a line. There's a lot of pens that I have that if you don't put pressure on, you won't get any ink flow out of it. And this nib was not tuned, or I didn't pop out the feed or do anything. This is just flushed and cleaned until I felt all the ink was gone. And this ink is Robert Oster Bronze. For some reason, that ink called out to me. And yes, it lays down a lot of ink. I have yet to have a vintage Waterman that doesn't lay down a lot of ink. This is an interesting color. Bronze is bronze. I think there's a lot of variations depending upon the mixture and things of that nature. So I think we need to compare this to the other 92 that I have. I think you can see right away that this is a softer nib. It's not as fine as the other one, but it's a pretty fine line. So the other one is probably an extra fine without pressure. This is just a fine. But the one thing that this one does is the difference between the no pressure on the line and pressure is definitely a lot. And you can push it and you can railroad, but as you start to flex a nib, you need to write slower so that ink has a chance to run out because you are putting down a lot of ink. This is Noodler's Navajo Turquoise, I think. Yeah, Apache Sunset Navajo Turquoise. So yeah, that's this ink, which I'm fine with it in vintage pens. This pen has been inked up with this ink, refilled a number of times since I first got it a year and a half plus ago. And again, if you go fast, you're going to railroad. So we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed another walk down vintage lane. A look at what I think are extreme bargains still available on eBay. Or you could go to a pen show and see what's available. But to me, anybody who loves pens honest. I think vintage is something that you should be aware of, not necessarily own one. And yes, it requires more tender loving care than other pens. It's nice if you can do some restorations. And the restorations, I think, like putting in a sack and stuff, are not demanding, but you need tools, you need equipment, and that initial investment, finding out where you can buy sacks and things of that nature is definitely a challenge, but I enjoy the challenge, and I certainly enjoy sharing them with my viewers. So we've reached the end. As my writing totally degrades. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. May you have many great writing experiences across the entire history of our wonderful world of fountain pens. So have a beautiful day. Bye for now. Until the next one, this nib can grow on you.